Draw Steel, the tactical cinematic fantasy role-playing game from MCDM, is rapidly becoming my favorite TTRPG. Character creation, combat, negotiations, everything about this system is clean, engaging, and most importantly, a ton of fun. Hi everyone, I'm Nick Olivo, and I've been running Draw Steel in person since it released, and it's been great. But unfortunately, it's not natively supported on Roll20 right now. So this video is going to show you, the Game Master, or the Director, as it's called in Draw Steel, how to do certain things like how to quickly add all of your characters and monsters into combat, how you can automatically generate malice, which is used to power some of your monsters' special abilities, how each of your players can mark themselves as done in combat, and then how you, as the GM, can advance things to the next round, generate more malice, and continue the process until combat is over. At which point, if your players have been victorious, you can award a victory to them. And we'll also see how your players can then query how many victories they currently have. They can also see how many hero tokens they have, which are special resources that they can then spend to re-roll dice or add buffs to their damage. And the way that they're going to spend those is by clicking a button that allows them to say how many hero tokens they wish to spend. And then we have this being tracked, saying the player who spent the token and how many are remaining. And then the player can apply that to whatever it is that they're doing. And we may see a few other things along the way. But one thing to know is we will be using mods for this, so a pro account is required to do what I'm about to show you. Before we dive in, I'd just like to thank Roll20 for sponsoring this video. So the first thing we need to do is install a mod called script cards into our game. And to do that, we're just going to go into our game's API scripts page here, and then you're going to go into this dropdown and you're going to search for script cards. Script cards comes to us from the amazing Kurt Jagers. Kurt, thank you so much for everything you do for the community. This mod is absolutely fantastic. We're just going to add this script into our game, and then we're good to go. Now, quick aside here, at the time of this video's creation, there is no Draw Steel character sheet in Roll20. I know that some members of the community are working on one, and so when that's available, you'll be able to select that from the drop-down here, but for purposes right now, what you want to choose is none, no character sheet template from this drop-down when you're creating your games. Once your game is all set, we're ready to go. And so everything I showed you in that little intro clip is based off of two special character sheets. One called the Director Sheet, which will contain information and macros related to running combat and generating malice, and the other is going to be called heroResources, which will contain information and macros related to victories, hero tokens, and a few other things. So let's start out by setting those up. So I'm going to begin by clicking New Character. I'm going to name this Director Sheet, and you want to make sure that you name it exactly this, so lowercase d in Director, capital S in Sheet, all one word. We're going to save changes here. We're just going to tuck this aside for the moment, and we're going to drag the Director Sheet out onto the battlefield. Now with that done, what we're going to do is go out to this GitHub page. There's a link down in the video description for this, and we're going to find a section here called Director Sheet Setup. You want to copy this whole thing, everything from line 1 through line 18 here. Copy this, and then go into your game, jump back to the chat tab, select the token for the Director Sheet here, and then we're going to paste in that code and press enter. And when we do that, you see now we have this token art, and if we open the sheet by alt double clicking on it, you're going to see that we've got a handful of attributes defined, and then we also have a handful of shell abilities. There's nothing in here right now, but we're going to change that. So jump back into the Director Sheet GitHub page here, and you're going to find that there is a section for each of those abilities that we just added. So here's the one for Add Victory. We're just going to copy that and paste it into the Add Victory section here in this ability. And then we'll close that. And then we'll move on to End Combat. And basically, you're just going to go down and repeat this for each one of the abilities that we have until all of them are filled in. Now, normally, I'd break down how to write each bit of code to make this happen. But the thing is, there is so much going on here that explaining line by line how to set this up would take hours. And chances are you just want to play. So this time around, I'm just going to point you at the code that I've written. But if folks really want tutorials on what's happening, drop a note in the comments and I may make videos in the future for that. Alright, so I fast forwarded a little bit. You can see that I've copy and pasted the code for each of these actions into the relevant ability. And now we're good to go here. We can just go ahead and close all these up. And now what we're going to do is we're going to set add hero token to show as a token action. And we're going to set start combat, next round, end combat, and add to turn order to show up here in the macro bar. And to help these take up a little less space, what I'm going to do is right click on each of these and say rename. And I'm just going to call this start combat. And then I'll repeat that for the rest of these items. And now I've got all my combat functions defined down here in the bar for easy access. And then the last thing I'm going to do is set the number of players in the sheet to the number of players I have in my game, as that's going to factor into the malice calculation that gets performed later. And when I click on my director token now, I have an add hero token, which will add hero tokens to our hero resources sheet. So let's go ahead and let's set that up next. This is going to work very similarly to what we did for the director sheet. We're going to go back to the journal tab. We're going to add a new character, and that new character is going to be called heroResources. And again, lowercase h, capital R, all one word. Save changes. And just like we did before, let's go ahead and drag our heroResources sheet out onto the battlefield. And then you're going to go to this GitHub page, again, link down in the video description. And what we're going to look for is the heroResources sheet setup section. And we're just going to copy that. And we're going to do pretty much the exact same thing as what we did before. Keep that token selected, paste that code in, press enter. And now we've got this nice H token here. And if we alt double click that one open, you'll see again, we have some attributes and some abilities. And just like before, what we're going to do is open each of these up, go into the GitHub page, and we're going to grab the appropriate item here and copy and paste that in. Now, as you can see, there are a bunch of them in here, but the only ones we're going to focus on today are hero token count, spend hero tokens, victory count, and end turn. So copy all of those in there. I'm just going to close these up. And we're going to set hero token count as a token action, spend hero tokens as a token action, and victory count as a token action. You don't need to worry about doing that for end turn. We'll talk more about end turn in a minute. Now, for the rest of these abilities that you see here, train skill, heroic resource, gain surge, reporter, and so on, these are going to be in a separate video, as those abilities are for character-specific actions and may no longer be relevant once a draw steal character sheet is available on Roll20. So as you're doing the setup, feel free to copy and paste from the GitHub page into these sections right now, but just know that these things may be moot when there is an actual draw steal sheet on Roll20. Now, a couple of things to know about the heroResources sheet. That little setup routine that we ran lets it be edited and controlled by all players, which means they can click on it, they can move it, but because it's not in anybody's journal, they won't be able to edit any of the elements on that sheet. So you, as the director, have the ability to add and modify the contents of that sheet. They will not have the ability to modify anything on the sheet. So when you're setting things up, you as the director can come in here at the start of each session and you can say, all right, I've got 4 hero tokens available to my party, and then your party can click on the H token here and they can click this button that displays how many hero tokens are currently available. As they earn victories, they'll be able to see that as well. And then if they want to spend hero tokens, they can say, all right, I'm going to spend 1 token, submit that, and we have that tracked here that a particular player has spent a certain number of tokens and the quantity of hero tokens remaining. And if your players earn additional hero tokens as they're adventuring, click on the director token, say add hero token, and then that increases the value by 1 of the number of hero tokens available on the heroResources sheet. So the director token and director sheet lets you perform director actions. The H token lets your players query the hero resources they have access to. Next thing we want to do is go into each of our characters' sheets, go onto the attributes and abilities section, and say add an ability called EndTurn. And the EndTurn ability is going to contain this string of text, which again is down in the video description. %heroResources EndTurn. Now, while you can add this EndTurn ability to all of their sheets, and you can make it a token action for them, they're the only ones who can flip the show in macro bar switch for themselves. So if they would prefer to have it show up in the macro bar, they need to go in and check that box themselves. If you just want to make it a token action for them, check that box and you're good to go. Now, one other quick thing to mention is that in that other video that I referred to earlier, I'm going to show you how you can have that EndTurn bit automatically added to the native blank character sheet. This will be a little bit different when an official sheet comes out, but just so you know, that will be in that other video, so you can check it out if you want. All right, so now let's say that we're ready to start combat. So what we're going to do is select all the characters and monsters that we want to participate in combat. We click the Start Combat button. That adds everybody to the turn order and marks everyone as ready. We also generate malice for our director. That malice gets stored in the bar 1 value of the director token. And so as we spend malice, like if I was going to spend malice in order to activate goblin mode and give my goblins a buff to their speed, I would just subtract the relevant amount of malice from the bar value in the token to keep track of how much malice I have remaining. Now, just a quick note on how malice is being calculated. On the director sheet, what we do is we take the number of players plus the combat round that we're in order to generate malice. And then on the first round of combat, if you look at the tooltip right here, you can see I'm also adding in victories. So on the first round of combat, you add up the number of players, the round number, which is 1, and then the number of victories that your characters currently have. And that gives you your malice total. And then on subsequent rounds, so if I go ahead and I advance to the next round, we can see that we have 6 malice being generated because now it's just the number of players plus the combat round that we're in. And so as that malice increments, again, it's stored here in bar 1 and we can spend it as we want. As our characters perform their turns, they can select their token and press the End Turn button to mark themselves as done. So we can see here now that Mo is done and Mo has ended his turn. I've done a similar thing for all my goblins where I can just click on a token action to end their turn, and then I can see when they're done. And again, that's thrown in the chat as well, so we can keep tabs on who's gone and who hasn't yet. And then we just iterate on that until we go through and our heroes either win or lose. And when we're done, we click End Combat. And what that's going to do is clear the turn order window. It zeroes out any malice that you have left, and it gives you the option to award a victory. So assuming our players were victorious, we can click this button. That adds another victory to the heroResources sheet, and then that will be used in later malice calculations, and ultimately when our characters go to level up, we'll convert those victories into XP. When you're done setting up all the sheets and all of the tokens and you've added the EndTurn option to all of your character sheets, just go ahead and select all of your heroes and the director and heroResources tokens, and then right-click and say Define Party. What that's going to do is mark all of those character sheets with this star. And now when you go to a new page in your game, you can just right-click and say Place Party, and that adds all of your heroes and the director and heroResources tokens to it as well, and that way you're never going to forget to put them onto a page, and you'll always have them available for when you're getting ready to run your game. So there you have it, setting up to run combat in Draw Steel. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a like and consider subscribing. And until next time, folks, happy gaming.